Yeah, I think, the whole supply chain is really mobilizing to support the goals that companies have, not just around achieving their business objectives, or part of their business objectives might be things like, for example, ESG, or very specifically carbon emissions, carbon output. So I think suppliers are mobilizing towards supporting that, and where an organization has an effective digital procurement setup, they have visibility of the suppliers that can support those business objectives. But also, I think technology, certainly kind of the newer breed of procurement technology, is very much geared around trying to help procurement organizations understand value more, because it is moving much more in that direction. Of course, cost savings are still important, but I think when you have, particularly in difficult economic circumstances, budgets maybe being reduced or budgets being addressed, if the value is not taken into consideration, then it would be quite easy for there to be, like you said earlier, a blind spot where an organization could reduce spend, maybe in a professional services category, but not understand that they are cutting something out that is delivering real value in helping them deliver new products, helping them be more efficient, affecting their bottom line. So unless they're assessing value, you could really make some bad decisions potentially.
Yes, I think so. The worst decision is if you want to cut costs, then the best thing is to do nothing, right? But then you also don't make anything. And sometimes I think that procurement organizations are looking too much at just this one deal with the supplier where they want to get the lowest price or the lowest cost, and forget about the larger picture. So that is something to watch out for. But on the other hand, of course, we don't want to pay too much. A supplier normally deserves to make a decent profit, but not more than that. We don't want to be the only one that pay too much.
Yeah, and it's also understanding, how suppliers are operating. For example, if you take areas like consulting, where it might be on a day rate, a time element to it, then you might find supplier A has a cheaper rate card, but it always takes them 2 times as long, or there are always many changes. And I think that change process on the services side is also an important element which differentiates it. And I don't know about you, but I see a lot of organizations find it quite difficult to really effectively capture how a project can move and change over time, because you might look at a project and say that overran, therefore that supplier has done a bad job. But if you can understand what happened at every point in the change process, then you might see that actually it was delayed because of internal factors, or actually throughout that process there was a greater understanding of what needed to be delivered. Is that something that you think organizations struggle with at all?
Yes, I think I've seen quite a couple of organizations see that as a challenge. I think it all starts with how well do you prepare? How well do you prepare what you want to achieve, and then it makes sense to put the right resources in place. And if you don't have the capabilities in your own organization, then you look for external providers, and maybe you need to find a very expensive consultant to do the job. But as long as you thought through what they need to do, then and it's not rocket science. It's something everyone can do, except a good consultant will use their time more efficiently than a bad consultant, I think. And but still, the end responsibility is with the buying company. So you cannot give all the responsibility to the consultant and say, okay, we don't know what you're going to do, but as long as you achieve the results, we pay you a part of the results. That's not going to work. And also, it's not going to work that you only give them a couple of hours to work, and then that you hope for a nice outcome. So you really have to think about in advance, what is it that you want them to do and what you want them to achieve.
Yeah, and as you say, I think you have to be realistic, and you can put in as much preparation as possible. But for example, if it's an IT services project or even a consulting assignment, you won't necessarily be able to predict all of the factors that will come up during the delivery of that project. And so I think you can plan as much as possible, and it's very important to do that. But also it's important to update the plan as things change. I can't remember whose quote it was that around it's all very well planning, but plans always change. But I think that has to be taken into consideration as well, that it's not necessarily a bad thing if plans change, but you have to understand what has changed and why, and take that into consideration when you're reviewing what you've done.
Yeah, there are two simple ways to say that. One quote is a bit similar. I think if you fail to plan, then you plan to fail. So definitely it's important to make a plan in advance. You may think about the detail of the plan, because the reality is always different than the plan. That's another one-liner that is there. And indeed, you have to adapt, and whether you adapt your plan or whether you adapt your behavior to the new situation, we're all humans. So we should know when we have to adjust, and we do not just rigorously follow the plan. So I think that's important. But it's definitely essential to be prepared, and then along the way to make sure that you have a governance model in place to adjust how you work, and how you adapt the plan, and how you make sure that you get the best possible results.